Last summer, a single ant colony moved into my kitchen, and I spent $63 trying to get rid of it. I am not exaggerating. I bought a spray, I bought bait traps, I bought a supposed perimeter treatment you apply around the outside of the house. I bought a second spray when the first one stopped working. I wiped down every surface. I checked every cabinet. And every single morning I came downstairs, and there they were, a little moving line of them along the baseboard, completely unbothered by everything I had thrown at them, carrying on with their day like I was the inconvenience. Meanwhile, somewhere in the mountains of western North Carolina, a grandmother who has never once had an ant problem in her kitchen was sitting on her porch drinking coffee, not because ants do not exist in the Appalachian Mountains. They absolutely do, in numbers that would make your eyes water. But because she knows something about ants that the $63 arsenal of products was specifically designed to prevent you from knowing. Every year, Americans spend somewhere around $1.6 billion on ant and pest control products. That is $1.6 billion for the privilege of spraying chemicals near the surfaces where we prepare food, chemicals that carry warning labels recommending we keep children and pets out of treated areas. Chemicals that the ants build resistance to over time, which is why you keep needing to buy new ones. The cycle is not a coincidence. I want to tell you about the $3 solution that Appalachian mountain families have used for generations. Something that works overnight. Something that has no warning label. Something you can apply in the same room where your dog is sleeping and your toddler is playing without a second thought. And I want to explain exactly why it works, because once you understand the mechanism, you will never see an ant problem the same way again. The $3 solution is food-grade diatomaceous earth, which is available at most garden centers and hardware stores for a few dollars a bag. Appalachian mountain families have known about and used it for pest control for generations under various names: ground silica, fossil dust, the white powder, depending on where in the mountains you learned about it. What diatomaceous earth actually is are the fossilized remains of microscopic aquatic organisms called diatoms, with cell walls made of silica. When those organisms die and accumulate over millions of years, the silica shells compress into a soft, chalky white powder that looks completely harmless. To us, to your dog, to your children, it is harmless. You can eat it. People do. Food-grade diatomaceous earth is used as a natural anti-caking agent in grain storage and as a digestive supplement. There is no toxicity to mammals because our bodies simply pass it through. To an ant, it is catastrophic. The silica particles in diatomaceous earth are microscopic and razor-sharp at the edges, and when an ant walks through a dusting of it, those particles lodge between the joints of the ant's exoskeleton and begin abrading the waxy protective coating that covers the ant's body. That coating is everything to an ant. It prevents desiccation, meaning it keeps the ant's body from drying out. Once the coating is compromised, the ant loses moisture rapidly and dies, typically within a few hours to overnight. There is no chemical involved. The ant is not poisoned. It is desiccated by a physical mechanism that it has no ability to develop resistance to, because you cannot evolve resistance to having your protective coating mechanically abraded. The physics do not care about the ant's evolutionary timeline. This is the critical distinction between diatomaceous earth and the spray products that failed me $63 in. Chemical pesticides work by poisoning insects through a specific biological pathway. Insects can and do develop genetic resistance to those pathways over time and across generations, which is why pest control professionals are in a constant arms race with insect populations, and why the products keep changing. Diatomaceous earth works by physical abrasion. There is no pathway to develop resistance to. The mechanism will work on the same ant population in the same way in 100 years as it does today. The Appalachian families who used this knew all of this not in scientific terms, but in practical terms. They knew it worked. They knew it kept working. They knew it was safe to apply anywhere in or around the home, and they knew it cost almost nothing, which in a subsistence mountain community was not a minor consideration. It was everything. Now, the application method matters enormously, and this is where most people who have tried diatomaceous earth and declared it did not work went wrong. The powder must be dry to function. Wet diatomaceous earth does not abrade anything. The silica particles clump together and lose their cutting edges, which means you do not apply it to surfaces that get wet, and you reapply after any moisture exposure. The mountain tradition for indoor ant control was to apply a fine, almost invisible dusting along the exact pathways the ants were using. Not a pile, not a visible layer. A light dusting, the kind where you can barely see it on the surface. A heavy application actually reduces effectiveness because ants can detect a thick layer and walk around it. A fine dusting is crossed without the ant registering it as an obstacle, and the abrasion happens as they go. The specific locations that Appalachian families targeted were the entry points and travel corridors, not the general room, where the baseboard meets the floor, where plumbing pipes enter the wall, around window frames, along the inside edges of door frames, the thin gap between the cabinet and the floor. These are the highways the ants are using, and dusting them lightly means every ant traveling that route is walking through the treatment continuously. I tried this after the $63 failure. Applied it on a Thursday evening along every baseboard in my kitchen and around the base of the cabinets. Friday morning, the ant traffic was reduced by roughly half. Saturday morning, there were a handful of stragglers moving slowly. Sunday morning, there were no ants, not fewer ants. No ants. I have not had an ant problem in that kitchen since, and I have a dog who was in and out of that room the entire time. But diatomaceous earth is the anchor, not the whole system. The Appalachian approach to ant control is layered, the same way it is with every other household problem these families tackled, and the supporting methods are just as important for long-term results. The second method is something that costs nothing, and that the mountain families understood about ants long before any entomologist put it in a journal. Ants navigate almost entirely by scent trails. When a scout ant finds a food source, it returns to the colony laying down a pheromone trail that other ants follow. That trail persists on surfaces even after the ants are gone, and as long as it is present, the colony keeps sending workers along it. Cleaning the trail does not mean cleaning the floor. It means chemically disrupting the pheromone signal. The Appalachian solution to this was white distilled vinegar, the same $3 bottle that appears across so many mountain household remedies because it is genuinely one of the most useful substances on the planet. Wiping down surfaces where ant trails were visible with undiluted white vinegar eliminates the pheromone signal completely. The acetic acid breaks down the chemical compounds the ants laid down, and without a trail to follow, scouts from the same colony that return to the same area find nothing to follow and no reason to recruit more workers. The invasion loses its organizing principle. The application is simple. Spray or wipe undiluted white vinegar along every surface where you have seen ant trails, along baseboards, across countertops, around the base of appliances. Let it dry. The smell dissipates completely within an hour as it dries, and what it leaves behind is a surface that is chemically erased of every ant highway that was there before. Combined with the diatomaceous earth at the entry points, you are addressing the invasion on two fronts simultaneously. The new ants coming in are walking through a desiccant. The existing trail network that was organizing the colony's activity is dissolved. I want to tell you about a third method that sounds almost too simple to be worth mentioning until you try it. Because when I first heard it from an older woman in Robin County, Georgia, I genuinely thought she was pulling my leg. She told me to draw a line with chalk. Sidewalk chalk, school chalk, any chalk, across every entry point I could identify. I asked her why. She said she did not know why, just that ants would not cross it, and that her mother and grandmother had used it the same way their whole lives. I went home and looked it up. The current scientific thinking is that chalk disrupts ant pheromone trails in a similar way to vinegar, interfering with their ability to detect the chemical signals they rely on for navigation. Some researchers also suggest that the calcium carbonate particles in chalk have a mild physical deterrent effect, similar to diatomaceous earth. The mechanism is not completely settled, but the observation that ants do not cross fresh chalk lines is documented and consistent. That grandmother in Robin County was right. She did not need the journal article to know it. The fourth method addresses the reason ants came inside in the first place, and it is the piece that makes all the other treatments last. Ants are not in your kitchen because they like your kitchen. They are in your kitchen because something in your kitchen told them there was food. An unwashed dish in the sink, a sticky spot on the counter from a juice spill 2 days ago, a crumb behind the toaster that you did not see, crumbs in the silverware drawer, sugar residue around the lid of the honey jar, a single sticky ring left by a syrup bottle. Appalachian families kept kitchens that were essentially scout-proof, not out of obsessive cleanliness, but out of practical understanding that a clean kitchen was one that did not invite the problem in the first place. Every surface wiped down after food preparation. No dirty dishes left out overnight. Dry goods stored in sealed containers, not left in open bags or boxes. The honey jar wiped clean on the outside before it went back on the shelf. These habits were not extra effort. They were built into the rhythm of the kitchen the way any other maintenance task was, done automatically and not thought about as a special project. Mountain families who had the diatomaceous earth at the entry points and the clean kitchen habit in practice rarely dealt with ant invasions because they had removed both the entry pathway and the incentive simultaneously. An ant scout that enters a treated threshold, if it survives long enough to reach the interior, finds nothing worth recruiting for. The colony gets no signal, nobody else comes. The fifth method is one that works on the outside of the house to prevent the colony from establishing a perimeter position in the first place. Cinnamon. Specifically, ground cinnamon or cinnamon essential oil diluted in water and sprayed around the foundation, windowsills, and exterior door frames. Cinnamon contains compounds, primarily cinnamaldehyde, that interfere with ant pheromone communication at the neurological level. Ants exposed to high concentrations of cinnamon cannot navigate normally, and colonies consistently avoid establishing travel routes through areas where cinnamon is present. Appalachian families who kept cinnamon in heavy use in their kitchens, which in the mountain baking and preserving tradition was almost all of them, noticed that ant activity was consistently lower around areas where cinnamon was stored and used. The practice of sprinkling ground cinnamon along windowsills and door thresholds on the outside of the home was a deliberate extension of that observation into a perimeter management strategy. A light line of ground cinnamon along an exterior foundation costs pennies, needs to be refreshed after rain, and creates a chemical barrier that ants route around rather than through. The sixth and final method is one that addresses moisture, because ants do not just come inside for food, they come inside for water, especially during dry summer stretches when outdoor water sources become scarce. A leaking pipe under the kitchen sink, a dripping faucet, condensation pooling under the refrigerator, moisture accumulating in a poorly ventilated cabinet. These are ant water sources, and an ant colony that finds a reliable water supply inside your home has as much reason to stay as one that found a food source. Mountain families maintained what you could call a dry perimeter discipline inside the home that mirrors the water management they practiced outside against mosquitoes. They checked pipes regularly for slow drips. They wiped cabinet interiors dry after any spill. They avoided leaving standing water in pet bowls overnight, which in the Appalachian tradition meant refreshing animal water outside in the morning and not leaving indoor water dishes out after dark. Eliminating the water incentive does not make the other treatments unnecessary, but it removes the second major reason a colony has to invest in your home as a permanent site. What I keep returning to when I lay all 6 of these methods out together is how completely they cover the problem. Diatomaceous earth physically eliminates ants using the entry points. White vinegar dissolves the trail network, organizing the invasion. Chalk reinforces the disruption at specific crossing points. Kitchen cleanliness removes the food incentive that triggered the invasion in the first place. Cinnamon builds a chemical perimeter that discourages new scout activity from reaching the entry points at all. Moisture management removes the water incentive that makes the home worth staying in. No single method is the answer. The system is the answer, and the system costs somewhere around $3 to $5 total for the diatomaceous earth and the vinegar, uses things you likely already have in your pantry for the rest, and can be implemented in an afternoon without evacuating your children or confining your pets. $1.6 billion a year. An antline along the baseboard that came back every morning no matter what I sprayed, and the answer was a $3 bag of fossil dust and a bottle of vinegar that the mountain families figured out before my grandmother was born. The old ways are not a fallback. In a lot of cases, they are just the answer, and the fallback is everything we bought instead. If you want to keep learning what the mountain folks have quietly known all along, hit subscribe. We are nowhere near the bottom of this.